Thugú Cynnach Maclóid, nó Cynnach Mór, an sa bhliain 1770 an Calbos Ileanúis. San tábhairg 8 má neach dhéanad aran a Ileanúis I tuirse bailach ág an bethe acha acail agus an púrta isteach an aram go sapach halharis colorí na síomhartaí. Ba Cynnach fís ó 8 bliana aigéis nuair a thugad don isteach don aram, agus mar sin caiigh go dúnheorais ina ceithre flaid an tábhaíos 8 ba 5 cearn agus 10 orlach art. Ach duaige agus súlan dain. A buring gab bíorla a bhrín, chudó ach gala aice. Sa gúplainn Jim bliana 8 sa seach, rannig Hamlet san éifis, agus Jéana sapid an aine tuircích banc in haine mír. Sapid a chail na síomhartaí chun dóchas san bí. Ba 5 prúsanach a rich an Cairo mar trálinn ag margid, ba Cynnach Mór a Meisc. Ba íri cosach idir da réite chabaran le cín an neach compárstin marad aige múlach gach capar. Chai Cynnach dal a seirbhí fluúin fat cuaig níos. Ba cuant fós a chuair dói idir Breitland agus an túr san túltain 8 sa seach. Chai mór an prúsanach a thuire ó lávan an túr san dúlach agus ba Cynnach Maclóid a Meisc. An 8 sa seach, Híl Cynnach go dúnheorais ban de gael gen aram. A dúr a fiús bem a stríogar 5 bliana go léig I chuair seachad san aram agus a dal ar san bhórchuidge. An súlan aram ar a Cynnach neonasáidir an éile airí go leor go san bhair ein ar san an seirbhis neon íomhar seachcha.
My name's Bjork Lauritsen. I was born on 14th April 1998. I'm a private in Free Scots the Black Watch. I've been here in Fort George since 2016. I was optimistic coming to Fort George because my grandfather served here in World War II. I was expecting it to be kind of an old place, and I wasn't wrong. It's nice to be based here, having a lot of history, especially all the way back throughout the years. I joined the army in 2014, in September. I was 16, came here in 2016, in January, and did various exercises in England. I went to Kenya the following year, did training over there, and then I went to Iraq for 6 months. You don't really look into politics much, but then when you see, oh, this is why we're going to Iraq, or this is why we're going there, you realise, all right, we're going for this reason, and you can understand a bit more of why things are done, or why you go to places. In training, you learn a lot about what battalion you want to join. In a Scottish regiment, there's a lot of history. It seems impossible to imagine today that a 19-year-old boy just commissioned into the Seaforth Highlanders could lead a platoon of men into the carnage of the Battle of the Somme. That he would keep discipline and cohesion despite the desperate losses around him. Norman Collins was this remarkable man. In June of 1915, aged just 18, Norman Collins set off to Scotland to join the Seaforth Highlanders. He would train at Fort George, he would fight on the Western Front. He lived to an extraordinary age. However, Norman would never really leave the battlefields of France and Flanders.
I was born in the year 1897, on April the 16th. The town was Hartlepool. It's a peninsula jutting out into the North Sea, pointing towards Germany. We knew full well that there was going to be a war, but of course we had no conception of what it would be like. We were quite excited about it. And even then we were talking about what we were going to do, what regiments we were going to join, and so on and so forth. There was no question of being afraid of it at that time. Later that came. I think it was the literature we read. I remember reading a trilogy. I think it was published by the War's Own paper. We knew knew, of course, we'd win in the end. The book said so. I wanted to join the Scottish regiment. On my father's side, his grandmother was a Hay, and another one a Henderson. So I felt that I had enough Scottish blood in me to justify joining a Scottish regiment. Besides, the uniform appealed to a boy. When I was 18, I saw an advertisement in the paper saying that if one went to Stockton-on-Tees, one could get a railway ticket which would take one to the regiment you wished to join. That was 1915, early 15. And I went to Stockton-on-Tees, got a ticket, and I took a ticket to Dingwall in Rossshire, because I thought that would be about as far away as I could get, and there would be little chance then of being brought back. Off I went to Dingwall, and I went to this lodging house. Well, it was a private house, and there was a very kind Scottish woman there, and I remember she gave me 2 boiled eggs, some homemade cakes, and I don't think she charged me for them, because I told her that I was going the next morning to the drill hall to join the Sea Force, which was the local regiment. And the next morning, off I went to the drill hall, and I was sworn in. It was a Major Manson who performed the ceremony, and I received the King's Shilling, and I was a Seaforth Highlander. The next morning, we went with a small contingent to Fort George, which was the headquarters of the Seaforth Highlanders, and I believe was the largest fort in Europe. We slept 25, I think at the time, in what were called the dungeons of the fort, underground, with one single gas jet. They were a pretty rough crowd. Many had come from Northern Ireland, and a number had come from the Western Islands and couldn't even speak English. They spoke Gaelic. But they were good fellows.
Dear Father and Mother, I just received your letter. It was very welcome. I must let you know what life in the army is like. Tuesday, the pipers played at 6 a.m. The pipers do stir the blood. Then parade at 7. For an hour, we run around the ramparts to give us an appetite for breakfast. Breakfast at 8, then polish your buttons. Parade at 9. We are taken outside the fort and drilled on the moor with about 1,000 men until 12:30. Every day has been blazing hot. Dinner at 1 p.m, parade again at 2 p.m, drill or swim until 4 p.m, and on Wednesday we went for a route march into the country for about 15 miles with full kit, and today we've been for another one. The full kit weighs about 90 pounds with a rifle. Every night the pipers play lights out at 10 p.m. We are sleeping in bomb-proof cells in the fort. I didn't sleep much last night as we had no mattresses. We have a boy of 16 in our room and an old soldier of 55. The General, we call him. Every night he has 8 to 10 pints of beer, and yet he is never in the least drunk. The air is so healthy. My face is beginning to peel in the sun. In fact, my skin is coming off in chunks. I've never felt so well before. I've been on 7 route marches, a total distance of over 100 miles. The big chaps often faint in the sun. I saw one chap crawling on his hands and knees. I have just seen our draft away to France. A lot of chums have gone. They had the trains chalked with notices such as first stop, Berlin. My chum Jock McGregor is going to France in a fortnight. A fortnight ago, a young Irishman of about 18 years old deserted, but he was caught about 40 miles past Inverness. He meant to walk to Ireland and over the Grampian Mountains. I'm getting lessons in bayonet work. We learn to fight men on horseback, and it's a very deadly weapon. I would like to come and see you, but of course it is too far. I will not touch alcoholic drinks at all. Best love, Norman.
Together with a particular friend of mine called Henderson, and we were commissioned. I was commissioned in the Seaforth Highlanders, the same regiment that I joined as a private, and Henderson was commissioned in the 8th Argylls. And off we went together to Glasgow and did our shopping in Sauchiehall Street, having been granted an allowance to buy our officer's kilt, officer's sporran, the ski and dew, and a claymore, although what we wanted a claymore for, I don't know. I arrived in France. It was at a place called Paris-Plage. The train on which we embarked took 3 or 4 days to get to the front because it was put into sidings to let more urgent traffic through. And I think it was at least 3 or 4 days to cover a distance of what could only have been 50 or 60 miles from Paris-Plage to where we were going on the Somme. And when we got there, we were told that we were going over the top. The bravest man, I discovered later, is the man who's never been in the trenches before, because he doesn't know what he's going into. You're always frightened. Nobody, in my opinion, could possibly be in the trenches or be under shell fire and not be frightened. Mind you, they didn't show it. You just pretended it was something else. It was cold, something like that. I remember one occasion when my teeth started to chatter because we were under heavy bombardment, and I was in a hole in the side of a trench, and the sergeant was trying to make a cup of tea. In any case, my teeth started chattering, and I apologized to him. I said, "It's so cold, isn't it?" Actually, I knew perfectly well my teeth were chattering because I didn't like the shells dropping closer and closer. And he said, "Yes, it is cold, sir." And just passed it off, you see. And then it stopped. You see, you pulled yourself together. But I don't mind admitting that I was never the stuff that heroes were made of. I very soon made friends with 2 lieutenants, one called Smith and one called McLean. and McLean was an MA and a divinity student. Smith was a dentist. He told me, before we went into action, that he was going to go sick because he had a hernia and he wanted to have this attended to. But he said he wouldn't go sick before the attack because it would have been cowardly. In any case, in the event, he was killed, and McLean was killed also. Now I can remember to this day one man with his rifle in his hands, kneeling, as if he was alive. I went up to him, he was stone dead. He just dropped to his knees with his rifle in his hands, facing the front. And the newly killed dead, of course, we took back on stretchers, and we buried them later there. That was burial services. And we buried them in one long trench, where each one wrapped up in an army blanket and laid side by side in this big trench, and gave them a decent burial. We had the last post and so on. And I saw McLean buried there, and Smith, also side by side. And I got a letter from my old friend Henderson. We were commissioned together on the same day, he in the 8th Argyles. And in his letter, he described the German advance, and shortly afterwards, I heard that he had disappeared and that he was last seen battling with Germans hand to hand in a shell hole, and he was never seen again. I remember a young German prisoner. I could speak a few words of German, just asked him how he felt. And I wasn't popular because I had him put onto a stretcher and taken back with the British wounded behind the lines. He was a young fellow, he didn't look more than 18, he was badly wounded, and I suppose I felt sorry for him. The armistice had taken place on November the 11th, when the sirens sounded, and incredibly, the war was over. My feelings were it was too late. All my friends in the regiment were dead. So, whilst I was glad, I was not excited about it. I didn't throw my hat up or anything like that, or feel like going out and rejoicing and opening up a bottle of champagne if I could have afforded it. I felt sorry and sad. It was too late. By 1918, the greater part of the flower of the German army was dead and buried. The flower of the British army lie still in their graves in Flanders. I don't think anybody won. Everybody lost.